If you're in your 20s or 30s and you're experiencing what some might call a quarter life crisis, this video is for you. Definitely have been there and definitely have experienced it myself. My name's Trent Hughes, co-founder of a couple different businesses that have reached multi-millions in sales a year, and now I'm an investor. But although I've had some financial success, I've dealt with a lot of anxiety. I've dealt with this feeling of just being stuck and not knowing what to do or where to go, and just feeling lost. And I think a lot of people, especially in their 20s and 30s, start to feel this way. A lot of people have experienced or heard of midlife crises where essentially they finish a certain chapter, they reach a certain age, and they're kind of wondering what's next. And they start to confront this reality that death will come eventually. And so my story, I graduated college and went the traditional route of getting a job and worked my way up the corporate ladder. And as I rose up that corporate ladder, I thought it was going to be so much better. I'd start making more money and things would just get better. And somehow things seemed to only get worse emotionally. And I just kept running into, is this all there is? Is this what it's supposed to be? Just kept being more and more stress, more and more work, more and more expectations, more and more pretending that I had to be someone that maybe I wasn't. I didn't feel comfortable just admitting sometimes I didn't know what I was doing or didn't like some of the things I was doing. I think that what ends up happening for most of us is there's sort of this script that we're told, or we feel that we're supposed to follow. A traditional script is maybe go to college and then you get a job. Maybe after getting a job, you save enough money eventually to buy a house, to get married, to raise a family, to buy cars, to go on vacations once in a while. And we're just supposed to follow that script. Now, everyone doesn't go in that same exact traditional route, but it's sort of a societal, here's what you do and here's the progression. And the reality is most of us don't necessarily fit that. I think we're all individuals, and when we're just trying to do something for other people, when we're just trying to live off of expectations that either we've set for ourselves or society or religion has set for us, we're not going to be living very authentically, and we're not going to be able to feel like we're doing the things that we want to do. And I felt this firsthand. I ended up quitting my corporate job where I was making really good money, and truthfully, I went to this point where I made almost no money. I didn't know what I was going to do and didn't really have a great plan. Eventually, having no plan and hitting rock bottom and falling into a point where I was getting close to going broke put me on a trajectory to go into startups and to start businesses. And it wasn't easy at first. In fact, it took many years before we actually found success. But eventually, those companies reached multi-millions, and one had 2,000 employees. And it was a crazy wild ride. And even that was like emotional toll that had of trying to do all this stuff that, again, I felt when you build a company, it's exciting at first, but eventually you're like, oh, I need to continue to build. I need to put on a good show for my employees, and I need to put on a good show for investors and customers and family, and pretend to be someone. And so I just ran into this many times. And truthfully, the way that I started to confront it was my own near-death experiences. I ended up in the hospital 2 different times. The first time I actually said to myself, I'm going to make some changes. I'm going to look in the mirror and do some things differently. It was the second time, about a year later, that I really actually looked in the mirror. But what I started to find is that it wasn't just me. It was everyone that I knew. All the people my age all seemed to have this kind of quarter life crisis of, is this all there is? It's super expensive to live here. What am I supposed to do in my life? What do I want to do? And am I able to even go do the things I want to do? Because life is so expensive and you have duties and responsibilities. And what I came down to, I started doing all this research and looking into all these different books and philosophies. And what I started to connect with and started to hear over and over and over in a lot of these was this concept of values and your core values. And it's such a buzzword that people don't actually give it the time of day. But to try to find what you value the most in life. And the way to do this, one of the easier ways to do it, is to think about yourself as sort of an 85-year-old person, probably closer to the end of your life, and start to reflect back on your life. What did you want your life to be filled up with? What were the moments that were the most joyful to you? And start to actually visualize what those were. And when you start to think about it, you're going to start to identify the values that were probably most important. So for me, I start to think about the different family gatherings that were important to me, the different travels that I was able to do, seeing friends and building actual community locally. I think about helping people and trying to help different foundations and causes. I think about lots of opportunities of fun. And when I start to condense these down to values, I start to realize community's big, family's big, fun is big, helping others is big. These are all ones that I actually want in my life. And when I started to actually look at it and wonder why I was so unhappy, it's because I was pouring all my time and effort and energy into work and not actually having fun, first off. Second off, definitely not trying to build a community because I didn't have time for it and didn't feel like it was a priority. Third off, I wasn't spending a lot of time helping people. Fourth, I wasn't spending a lot of time with my family and building a family because I was working so much. And so I started looking at it, well, no wonder I'm not feeling happy and I'm feeling stuck and I'm feeling like I'm not going where I want to go. I'm not even living the values of things that I would want in my life. And so when you start to think about your own trajectory of where are you headed, are you going to do the things that you value? If yours are family and fun and all these different things, are you on a path to actually do it or not? And when I finally confronted that is when I really started to make some life changes. We ended up selling the company. We ended up moving across the country. Ended up doing just different things that led to a different lifestyle, a slower pace of life, a community, an opportunity to go help people in different ways. Truthfully, like it was a full rebuild. But then it started to illuminate, what's actually important and how to get unstuck. And a lot of times I think we're just stuck because we feel like we have these expectations that are just put on us, whether it's family again or religion or just on yourself. And you feel like you have to do these things. But if you like, it's your life and you have one life. And at the end of the day, if you keep going down this path where you're not actually happy, you're not fulfilled with what you're doing, why? If you're doing it for someone else, what's the purpose? Why? At a certain point, you need to do what you can to make yourself happy and to follow your own path. Because would you be happy at the end of your life knowing that you never even gave the things that you wanted to try, that you never moved to that place, that you never started that company or dated that person or had that experience? Would you be happy with that? And so it starts to put some urgency on us. And we have that urgency, we can start to make changes. And that's honestly, my evolution with it. But I went down these deep rabbit holes of quarter life crisis and third life crisis. And I think it's pretty common. And I think that the common theme is that we have these expectations that we just don't want to disappoint people. And maybe that's our like codependence, where we feel that part of our importance is doing things for other people. And part of it is making sure that they're happy and following what they're hoping for us. But when you do that, you just neglect yourself. And in my case, you have health issues and anxiety and depression and like sleepless nights. So hopefully this is a cool video in some way, shape, or form that might be helpful for some of you guys to potentially look at how to get unstuck if you're in your 20s or 30s and feeling like you're just going down a path that you don't want to be going down. You're not alone. I think a lot of us feel the same way, and hopefully this is helpful. Appreciate you guys. Thanks.